Hi everyone, this is Ruan Paper. Welcome to today's video, which will be the currently inked for the month of July. But before we get into July, let's just talk a little bit about the pens that I had inked up for June. June was a very colorful month, a very satisfying color palette, if I do say so myself. And I'm really happy that I can say that there wasn't a single pen that I did not enjoy writing with. But I can say that I didn't write as much in June as I normally do. I was in a bit of a journaling slump as well, which has definitely passed. So I'm glad that I'm writing a bit more now, but that does mean that I do have some carryovers. This one still has some ink left. The Silver Bell Golden Shine with Robert Oster Peppermint, and I am so glad that I tried this ink in this pen because it is a fantastic match. I'm still going to try out some more inks in sort of the same color family, but if I don't find anything else that I love even more, then Robert Oster Peppermint is going to be like the perfect pairing for this pen. And I'll definitely be on the lookout for a bottle of this one because I just have a sample that's kind of running low now. So then the only pen that I did write dry, which doesn't necessarily mean it's the pen that I wrote the most with, because I filled up all these pens very unequally because it was always a bit of a precise activity task. But the only one that I don't have with me now is the Leonardo Furore in White Salt that I inked with Diamine Wild Strawberry. Fantastic pairing as well. I was a bit afraid that the red ink would stain the right white resin because you could really see, do I have a pen that can show that? I suppose this one can. It's when, obviously this is a transparent pen, but that you can see the blue from the ink in the feed, and it's going up against the resin. And I was really afraid that the white salt was going to get stained by the red, but it washed off perfectly fine. So that was reassuring. Lovely combination, wrote very, very nice, very lovely punchy color. This one, the Lamy Safari Mango with Sailor Manyo Yamabuki, was a lovely writer. The shading in Yamabuki is phenomenal. Lovely color, really good fit as well, a really good match. But even in this fairly wet, extra fine nib, I found it to be a bit dry. And I think that there are some orange leaning yellow colors that I would prefer over the Yamabuki. So it was really nice to try out the sample. There's a bit left, so I might try it in another pen. But I don't think I'd get a bottle of this one. I also have a little bit left in the Lamy Safari White that I inked up with Inkebara Grass Green. And oh my, this was a fun ink to write with. This is such a perfect color green, and I would absolutely love a bottle of this ink. It's a little on the dry side. However, this nib, which is an extra fine Lamy nib, just as this one, they have the same nib. But I do feel like this one is a fair bit wetter, which was a really good match with the fairly dry ink. And it wrote so well. I could write really cleanly, very sharp lines with it without ever feeling like I needed to really drag out the ink. And I just like the combination of white and green, just as the white and red. I think that vibrant colors go so well with white. Then we have probably my favorite, or at least most surprising writer for this month. The color match isn't perfect, but the Sailor Prophet Jr. in Cyan with the Diamine Florida Blue wrote so nice. I absolutely love this, and I'm actually glad there's quite a bit left in the converter. I love these Sailor's medium fine steel nibs. They write so cleanly, and I don't know if cleanly is like the right word, but they put down the exact, like the perfect amount of ink. They are not dry. You don't get hard starts or skipping or railroading, and it never feels like you have to push harder to drag out the ink. But they also don't, like when you're writing, sometimes when, for example, you make like an E or I don't know, a P or an O or whatever letter sort of has like a small opening, the ink never like flows into that opening and really fills up whatever space there is. Like the lines are always very, very crisp. And I love that. That's just something that I really enjoy. And then we have the Giant Pens Elvenwood with Dominant Industry Winterwood. Very wet writing combination, but it does flow amazingly well. I'm really still very much in love with this pen. There's quite a bit left with this, even though it's probably the one that I wrote with the most, but I inked up the... I gave this one a very generous filling of ink. So even though I wanted to ink it up for this month with something else, I'm just going to leave the ink in it for now and do that when it runs out. So because there's still quite a bit left, I decided to only ink up 4 pens for this month, not 5. And we're going to start with this one. This is my Pilot Kaküno in transparent, clear, it's a very boring looking pen. But it's my favorite pen to put shimmers in because this one just never disappoints, and I love how the Kakünos write. And what I put in there is this unlabeled sample of Diamine Twilight that I mixed with a bit of silver shimmer from Bononia. So you can see how I did that in a video that I did a while back, where I just played around with some of the Bononia shimmers. And I really wanted to put that in a pen and see how that works. And so far, it's been working really, really well. Okay, there's not much ink on the... I don't have much left in the sample anymore, so it's kind of hard to dip the speedball nib in the sample, but this will have to do. Not the most beautiful swatch, but a lovely kind of slightly unsaturated dark blue. And I put a silver shimmer in there that you will probably be able to see when the ink dries a bit. And it flows really, really well. I had no experience with the Bononia shimmers in pens, but so far I'm really liking it. So let's see if the shimmer already shows up. I mean, I can see it here. I can't see on the viewfinder. It's just too small. I can't see if you can see it, but you'll have to trust me on this one then. It has a lovely silver shimmer. It goes really well with the sort of cooler blue. I like it. Not very summery, but I was just really curious to try the shimmer that I made. Then we have this one. This is a platinum little meteor. Has an extra fine nib, and I've inked this one up. This is I think it's called vanilla, but I've seen different names. I've also seen milk or milk tea. These only have Chinese names officially, I think, because they are made for the Chinese market. So there's just tons of different English names floating around online. But I like the vanilla. I like the sound of that. And I think it matches well. So we're just going to call it vanilla. And I've inked this up with a Cult Pens exclusive diamine ink, namely Summer Sunset. And I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with this ink color. Sometimes it looks a bit more orange, and then I really like it because then it reminds me of just that lovely light, you know, when there's a summer sunset, you know, that's what the name comes from. But sometimes it'll look like a very pale, pale sort of pink, and I don't love that as much. So it really depends. I think in shading, it looks nicer than the lighter parts. But definitely an ink that I wanted to ink up somewhere during summer. I'd written that down on my sort of currently inked ideas list months ago. So I'm really glad that I finally tried it out. I've also given a sample of this to my mother where I mixed it with a little bit of gold shimmer, which I think is a lovely combination. And then we have a sort of last minute addition to the currently inked because I was originally only planning to ink up 3 pens, but then I was really craving something purple. So I inked up this Jinhao 80 in extra fine. It is officially the blue colorway, but when you look at this with like really good daylight, it's absolutely more purple. I think it's very much like an aubergine, like a very, very dark color. And I've inked it up with Sailor Shikiori Hara Hara, which is a lovely, lovely sort of slightly muted, but still very dark purple. Not a perfect match with the pen color, but it still looks nice. So this one also has an extra fine nib, just like the Platinum Little Meteor, but this nib is way more wet. It's more like the Pilot Kaküno fine nib. And this one has, like, it's a really nice nib. It's really smooth. It writes well. It's a bit too wet for my liking, but I don't know. I love how this ink looks. It has some decent shading as well. Not spectacular, but it's definitely not a flat looking ink. And then we have the Tibaldi Bononia in Martini Olive. Also an extra fine, but still a very different nib in terms of how it feels. This one has a Yovo number 6 nib, I think. And I've inked this one up with Journal This Believe, which is a lovely olivey green color. And I got this ink at the Dutch Pen Show, and I really wanted to try it out. So 3 out of these 4 colors are just based on inks that are either inks or pens that I just really wanted to try and play around with. So there wasn't really, I didn't really have a specific color palette in mind. Like I already have the perfect color palette for September worked out. So that one is going to be very theme heavy. And I'm still thinking of something for August. I'm not sure yet whether I want to do that. But this time it was just, you know, random stuff. Which is just as much fun. I'm already also working on like an October color palette that is very Halloween focused. Even though I don't celebrate Halloween, but I just love all of the, like, I don't know, the vibe, let's say. I'm actually really liking how this green looks next to the purple. I hadn't seen them together like this. I mostly picked the purple to go well with the Summer Sunset ink. Now I just have to see, how do you write Bononia again? Okay, it's just one N. So that's it, the color palette for this month. A bit of a smaller lineup, just 4 pens this time, but that way I don't like sort of start, I don't get a mountain of pens that are carryovers because like I said, there's still 5 pens left from last month that still have some ink left. I don't really want to dump out the ink because I'm kind of hesitant and about you know, dumping it back into the bottle if I have a bottle. So then I would want to make like sample vials, but it's probably just not worth it because it's just a little bit, it's just easier to just write it dry and then clean it out. So that's what I'm going to do with the other 5 pens that I have left. And then I have some really lovely inks to go with that. So that will give me plenty of variety of pens and inks for this month. Yeah. I'm gonna let this dry to take a picture for the thumbnail, and I want to thank you for watching. And yeah, I hope you have fun with your pens this month, and hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.